for those who might not be familiar with who Peter Yarrow is, that's the Peter. Us old folks know that's the Peter of Peter, Paul, and Mary. And he raised the funds for that documentary. And he's still active in Better Angels. Greg and Kumar are still good friends and very active. They've come to both of the national conventions. You see them all the time. Some of the other people you've seen here are still very active. There's something else I wanted. Oh, and the numbers are higher than you saw. I would hazard a guess that by the end of this year, we will have done about 500 workshops. And so I want to start with a question for you before I get questions back. And the question is, tell me something, if you would, about how polarization has affected your life personally, relationships, or anything you want to share. We got a microphone coming. We may, we may use a recording of this. So go ahead.
I had a friend I was served in the military with, and in civilian life in the government. We used to go to lunch about once a month or so, because we were both strong Christians. One day after the election, I said anybody who voted for Trump was an idiot. And he indicated he'd voted for Trump because Hillary was crooked. And I says, I absolutely believe that, but Trump's concerned about national security. We haven't been to lunch since.
Somebody else?
I had a friend that was, I thought, a very good Christian friend of mine, and I looked up to her as an example of an excellent and a good Christian. And after the election, the things she said on Facebook, I don't care who she voted for, and I don't care who I voted for. We were Christian friends. Unfortunately, the language that she used as a Christian shocked me, and the things she said about the people she did not vote for shocked me. And I went out on Facebook and told her I wished I had that wonderful Christian friend that was there to lead and teach and not use that kind of language. And we've never spoken since, and she blocked me. I probably should have done it more personal, but what I got was on Facebook, and what I said back was a comment back to her. And it's sad because she really truly was a good Christian leader, and just the way that she presented her side to me was not a Christian type of attitude. But regardless, I lost a good friend just because of the differences, and we both spoke before we thought.
Thank you. One up front.
Hello. Can you hear me? I personally wake up anxious and agitated every day. I can't watch the news. I can't be on social media all the time. I've never in my life felt like that. And you begin to feel kind of hopeless when this country of ours that we're so proud of, that you think, where are we going? And you really have to turn it off. And then you start feeling, well, then I'm becoming, you don't want to say ignorant, but then that's not solving it. It's kind of like running away by turning it all off. But That's where I am about it. I'm tired of being anxious and angry and agitated. And I have a sister-in-law that we don't speak anymore for that reason. We don't speak.
I just want to say there is hope, because my best friend, one of my best friends, I thought, who in the right mind would vote for Trump? But we're still great friends. I mean, we're tongue-in-cheek about things, and we bring up politics, and he talks about the Trump economy, and I talk about kids in cages, but we're still really good friends, and I know that what I read about is that it's all closed in. You're only friends with the people you agree with politically. I mean, it's becoming more and more like that. But I'm one to say that, that I still have a pro-Trump friend, and I'm not Trump at all.
So questions about Better Angels, about the process, or we'll get more toward what we're planning to do on October 29th. But any questions about any of it? I will say that some of our processes have been altered a little bit from what you saw. Although the structure is similar, some of it has been altered, and we've kind of drifted away from Trump, Hillary as a nation. We've gotten more fragmented, I think. So when we divide people into blue and red, we recognize that there's a whole range of things you may be and considered conservative leaning or red, and a whole range of things you may be and considered liberal leaning and blue. But we got to divide you up somewhere to make the processes work. So we ask you to choose one or the other if you'd like to participate. Any questions?
Actually, Mel, I'd like to jump in for just one quick second. Actually, the date that I originally gave you was wrong. I said October 29th. It's actually October 26th.
Yes, a Saturday.
Okay, the 26th. I know I have it right in my calendar, but I believed them, so
There you go.
I didn't
Yes.
look. Yeah, we got one first.
Robert. Ted.
I have trouble seeing this work for me. I have such anger and rage at the politicians in general. I don't have a problem with people or parties in particular. It's the politicians in general that I'm angry at. So I don't see how this could work for me.
Go right down the line. Ted's the one. Yeah.
That was going to be my question. How are you going to get people to participate willingly? Most people have a tendency to keep their opinions to themselves, at least I try to. How are you going to recruit people to get a good cross-section and a vibrant group to work with?
Mario, you got the handcuffs ready?
Yeah.
Recruiting is not as easy as one might think. So you're right, it's not easy, but basically if you tell people that we're trying to end polarization in the country, and what we ask you to do is you're going to spend 7 hours, we're going to serve you lunch, that helps, and all we're asking you to do is be respectful when you speak, and to listen, and to get it through your head that you're not going to change anybody else's mind. I mean, if you're willing to do those three things, we think you might learn more about yourself and more about those people that you consider the other side.
So actually, I'd
And-
like to jump in and add a little bit to that. So it is also possible to show up at one of these meetings as an observer. My wife Victoria, and our young son Timothy showed up to our first meeting exactly as that. Basically, you're backbenchers and you're watching, just like we watched on the video here, the whole process. It's not as intimidating as one would think. And also, one of the strongest things that they try to get across in the meeting is that you're setting up an environment of trust. Your opinion will be valued, your opinion will be listened to. And again, as Mel said, no one's trying to change anyone's opinion. All they want, all everyone in the group should want, is just to hear what you think. You are representing you, no one else.
And the fellow that you saw with the gray hair and the blue sweater, we have one. Go ahead. This woman, I think, was the first one to have her hand raised. But the guy you saw a lot of, the moderator with the gray hair and the blue sweater, Bill Dougherty, is a professor of marriage and family counseling. He runs the Marriage and Family Counseling Center at the University of Minnesota, and he's given us enormous amounts of time for free. Very dedicated to this work. And he has devised something where it's a very gradual process. People don't really start a back and forth until well toward the end of the day.
So have you had an unsuccessful event? And I have a second question too. Do they design the questions ahead of time, or does the dynamic of the group allow questions to be developed at that time?
I have not witnessed a failure, and by failure I mean something that blows out of control, and okay. I was the moderator at a workshop, the first workshop we ever did in the Panhandle of Texas, Red Blue workshop in Amarillo. And we had one guy there. He was the county Republican chairman. He wore a big hat throughout. And he had a genuine curiosity about what other people think. But he really didn't understand that there are some things you don't say. And in the Q&A, he commented that he thought that white people did Africans a favor by bringing them to this country. And there was an African American there, and that could have blown up, but it doesn't. By the time people are in such a trusting mood, thanks to Bill Dougherty's genius, that the African American young man there just calmly responded. Talked about, he had done his genealogy, and he discovered that he would have been a prince back there. So, but whatever, there are incidents like that somebody might potentially, but I have not seen anything blow up. And I've been in the leadership for over a year. I think there may have been some in the beginning, but I have not heard of any anywhere in the United States since I've been involved. And what was the second part again? Oh, well, the questions are broad. They are set, but they're also broad. So people decide. Like the first one is list stereotypes that are used against you. And then tell us what the real story is, and then tell us the nugget of truth in that stereotype. But we don't know what stereotypes are going to come out. That comes from the participants. Then the fishbowl is, it's no longer about Trump and Hillary. The questions are, what is it about your side's policies and practices that you feel are good for the country? And then what is it about your side's policies and practices that give you concern? Then again, we don't know what's going to happen. So the people do. And then there's the questions exercise where you ask questions of the other side, and they come from the participants. We help curate them in how, how they're going to be said. But so we don't determine what comes up, but there is a set formula for what we ask you to come up with.
What I was going to say, going back to Mario's comment about we're not trying to convince someone else or whatever. The problem is that people believe what they believe, and what they want to do is they actually want to convince you. And if telling them that we're not going to try to convince one another is a hesitant for them to participate. I know people who didn't come tonight for that exact reason, because they don't want to hear that maybe the other side has anything, and I don't know how to work past that.
Yeah.
Because if the only people who come are the people who are willing to listen to start with, have we really gotten any further?
I think that's a question that comes up a lot about self-selection. And what has proved interesting to me is that the self-selection is for people who really are genuinely interested in what other people think and how other people think. That doesn't mean that they're not extreme in their own opinions. So sometimes we get really extreme people. And actually, I asked Bill Dougherty, our social science genius, because I got asked a question if I could identify what qualities of a person makes one more interested in others. And what Bill came up with off the top of his head, without any research, was that maybe it has to do with how social one is. So I think there is some self-selection that goes on, but it's not based on political views. It's based on if you value giving up that right. I tell people, look, only for 7 hours. We only ask you to be nice for 7 hours. Then you can go back and do whatever you want. But for 7 hours, you're not going to change anybody else's mind. And if they're willing to give that up in return for maybe learning something about people, and I think often themselves and other people.
I've got one here. Here you go.
I'd like to make a comment about that and then ask a question. I think that anyone who is willing to come here and try to change themselves is adding something good to this nation, is showing to the younger generation that we can work on ourselves, that we can change. So if our motivation, it has nothing to do with changing our opinions, but to being more patient and compassionate and understanding, this is going to benefit the people in our life and the people around us in our community. And that's a worthy reason to come. I came to my first meeting about a year ago, I think, in Annandale, and the meeting was giving you skills on how to ask questions and also how to listen. And then I've been to maybe 2 or 3 other meetings, and I haven't heard anyone mention that kind of meeting, only the workshops. So I'm wondering, are we still doing those kind of meetings?
Yeah, I should run down off the top of my head, and I may miss some, but the various things that Better Angels is doing. As they indicated at the end, we like to form alliances after the workshops. There is a Fairfax County Better Angels Alliance. There's a Loudoun County Better Angels Alliance. Unfortunately, right now, they both meet on the second Thursday of the month. We may change that, but they both meet on the second Thursday of the month. And, you know, we like people to have attended a workshop and to be members of Better Angels, to be in the Alliance, but we'll let you in if you haven't done either of those. And the workshop that we're going to do here on the 26th is what we call a full-day red-blue workshop, similar to what you saw there. And one of the reasons we did that was you'd be seeing the video, so we're asking you to do something similar. In addition, there is a skills workshop that teaches, it's more didactic. The red-blue is experiential. The skills workshop is more didactic with some role plays, and it teaches you practical things, ways to have that conversation with Uncle Charlie. Now, out of that skills workshop, I kind of prefer the sort of the progeny of the skills workshop, which is a red-only and a blue-only skills workshop. Those are each 3 hours long. The generic skills is 2.5 hours. And the thing that's good about an all-red or an all-blue skills workshop is we get a little deeper. We get you out of kindergarten and into at least junior high school of depolarizing conversation. So we can get a little deeper into, if we're just talking to blues or just talking to reds, we can get a little deeper into things like stereotypes and assumptions and loaded language and things. It gets difficult when you're in a mixed room. We now have something we're really, that's, you know, and these are pretty new, but there is a depolarizing within workshop. So it doesn't matter if you're red or blue, you come, and these are again, it's sort of didactic, and but it asks you to participate, and it looks, you know, it helps you look at yourself and the things that you do and might do differently, and also gives you advice on how to handle situations, you know, when your friend, your bubble, your clique is getting a little nasty. There is also the Better Angels debate, which is really it's not a debate in the classic sense of teams. Anybody in the room can speak, anybody in the room can ask a question. You're not representing one team or another. You're asked to speak only for yourself. And there are no losers. Hopefully everybody's a winner and they come away a little better informed. So it's a different kind of debate. And we will be doing one in the Leesburg Town Hall on the subject of the Confederate statue in front of the courthouse across the street. If you're interested in attending that one, it's a Tuesday, and I'll have to get my calendar out. I think it's Tuesday, October, around the 16th, whatever that Tuesday is, and I can look it up. But see me, and I can get your email address and send you a link to register for that one. For the debates, we often give you a few resolutions. These are all on the statute, but there are different ways of approaching the question, and we ask you to take a poll because we want to see which way of phrasing it you're most passionate about, and which way divides you closest 50-50. So that is coming up in Leesburg. We're having one of those. But we also might follow up here. Our idea was to start with this. You know, you will have seen the video. Start with and this is what we call our signature event, the Red Blue Workshop. But the others, and then go on to one of the others, maybe a debate, maybe a depolarizing within, and until they all decide to throw me out and they've had enough of me, I'll keep coming back.
Thanks, Mel.
Other questions? Okay, so you can if you think of a question, holler. But I guess the last thing is just to bring up to see who is willing to register now for the Red Blue Workshop that we're going to do. I think 9 to 4
Right.
on that Saturday.
October 26th.
Yeah. Are we gonna provide lunch?
Yeah, we're gonna have lunch. Oh my goodness, we'll have refreshments.
And we have to have lots of coffee in the morning.
Yeah, so plenty of coffee.
And all day. We find coffee helps.
Right. So this is a coffee drinking church.
Good.
For sure. For sure.
Good. So we need some people to register. Now you can register as an observer. You can register as a blue participant or a red participant. And I know a bunch of you are going to say I'm in the middle. Fine. Pick one if you can possibly pick one, pick it. If not, you get a lot out of observing. And we also might, we will also ask you to check off if you can help volunteer to round up others as well.
Right. And we have a form for you to do that you can do, solo. So you don't only have to pass it down the aisle. We got the form here in the back, right, Rebecca? So it's on the connection desk and just drop it in the basket. So you do that yourself. Mel, it's, to do the red and blue, you need maybe 6 participants on each team?
Ideally 5 to 7.
Okay.
And even though, and we want to keep them even. So there's a possibility if we get too heavily weighted one way, we might ask for somebody to become an observer, or ask one of the observers if they're willing to step in as a participant.
Good. So what we'll do now is we'll release them and let them take the form if they so desire, or if you have any other questions, want to chat with Mel, that's fine. You can even chat with me if you like, and Mario's here, and they're very grateful for his help too.
And it's now when we say go forth and
yes, that's right. And thank you all seriously for coming. Give Mel a hand for putting this together. Thanks, Mel.
Thank you all for coming.
Really thankful for Better Angels. Great job. Thanks, everyone. Please check out the connection desk forms. Thanks. Good job, Mel. Yeah.